It's time for IP in the news. And of course, today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. And it's really been a big topic now in the intellectual property world. All sorts of AI programmers are trying to get intellectual property protection for the inventions that their software creates. And so we have here Mr. Stefan Thaler from Missouri, who has a software program called DABUS, and he claims that DABUS is sentient, which I guess means that it's got human characteristics.
He says, and I quote, "There is a new species here on Earth, and it's called DABUS." I think it's DABUS or DABUS. I don't know. But I do want to give intellectual property credit for this article. So it was from Wired, and it was written by Will Bedingfield, who's a staff writer at Wired. So
the whole story is really about how intellectual property inventorship rights, ownership rights are being challenged in the courts because right now all of the laws say you have to be a human being in order to get a patent or a copyright. And of course, there's a lot of people out there now with AI who are challenging that. And I think it's really interesting. It's kind of scary to me because I think if you have AI, the number of inventions and creations you can come up with is almost infinite, right? And so you would have all of these machines that would sort of own all the new ideas. And to me, that just seems kind of, it would be a big challenge for us.
But part of the problem too with AI is that it doesn't just start with nothing. It goes through the internet and takes other people's work and then makes new work out of it, but it's still using other people's work.
Right. And that's one of the big challenges with copyright works, because the AI software goes and looks at all the other artists' works that are online, and then it combines them using software, and it comes up with a new creation that looks a lot like the old creations, right? And there's a lot of artists who are getting upset about this.
Right. So it's going to have to be litigated in the courts, I guess. But I don't think AI's reached personhood yet. For instance, well,
I mean, when was the last time you felt sorry for an AI description from ChatGPT?
Can an AI do a firewalk?
There you go. I think that's the ultimate question. So anyway,
I don't think so.
I guess the moral of the story is watch what you put into ChatGPT. We'd like to ask our distinguished guests what they think about this phenomena. Dave, thanks for joining us on the show.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think my position, as far as what I do, I think I'm pretty safe. I don't think anybody's going to come out there and replace me anytime soon. What I do find interesting is that if I want to promote my company or I want to write content or whatever, I know that I can go out there and use AI, and it can create some really interesting content, so that we could add to the website or letters or whatever it is. So, but from a physical standpoint of what I do for my clients, I've got no worries.
Have you ever thought about maybe doing like a virtual firewalking? Where somebody puts coals down in their backyard and you talk them through it on Zoom. Would that work?
Nope. Nope. I don't want to see the on the 11 o'clock news, Firewalk Adventures. The thing about it is that I'm there for the specific reason. We do things three ways: safe, safer, and safest. So with that in mind, if I'm not there to control the temperature, because when I lay the coals on the grass, which is what they walk on, I can bring the temperature down by hitting the coals with a shovel. So every time I hit the coals, pat them down.
So the virtual thing just isn't going to work for you.
We did a board break. And we were pretty successful at that. Okay. Tony Robbins does one too. He does a board break and he sends the boards out to the people, and there's instructions, the setup and so on.
Okay.
So
So,
that I think you can get away with.
Sure. So, Courtney, what do you think about Chat GPT, AI, and all of these other new phenomena getting intellectual property protection?
Yeah, so my husband Daniel, he actually has taken classes on AI because he just is very interested in it. So I hear a lot from him about it. But he actually, like, we have used ChatGPT in different scenarios, but in this case where they're claiming like intellectual property, I think it's interesting because there's one particular AI platform that's an image generation platform, and you can actually load in an image and ask it to like reverse engineer it. So it gives you the prompt. And in the prompt, it has different artists. So I can understand how these artists are getting mad because in the prompt is their name. And that's kind of what's building the image. So I think that walks a really like fine line. And in cases like that, I don't really know how there's much grounds to get intellectual property because it's based off of somebody else's work. I think there's so much gray area. I do think though that it is very helpful in some scenarios, like website builders now have it like infused into the platforms, and that can help with like writing copy. But as far as like intellectual property goes, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they battle it out in court, because that's kind of going to be setting the tone for everything that comes after that.
You make some interesting points, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate a little bit here and say, as an intellectual property person, I think most new creations are based on something that somebody has already done.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
So that's one argument that the AI people have, is that, well, other artists create art by having looked at other paintings, right?
Yeah.
And so, but there's such something about them. I'm not sure that there's really the creative spark that goes into that. It seems more of it's just like an algorithm.
Right. I was going to say, I don't think it will ever be the creativity of somebody coming up with something really new, because people that are true creators, they don't care as much. I mean, they want to make money from what they're doing. They have to support themselves. So they want the IP rights, but they know they can always create something new.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, Alex, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts on this?
So help me understand with your question or the situation. Was it that a person versus a machine actually owning IP? Was that the debate, the issue?
So the person who, all right. So the machine created it. The person would own it.
Right.
Right. So the owner would be different than the person who created it.
But this guy thinks that the AI is sentient and should be able to own it.
That's what I think is interesting. I have a problem with that. I don't like, that's the fear that we all have, right? As we create AI and it continues to evolve, like, it's in the movies, right? It's Terminator. It's, where is this going to end up? How far is it going to go? So do we really want to give agency to AI and the machines to actually own IP? I don't think we do, because who knows where that leads. So
yeah, those are really good points. And I actually think that it's really more of a matter of Congress making these decisions, even though
boy, that'll never happen.
That'll never happen. But if we're going to be completely theoretical about it, it does seem like the courts aren't really in a position to kind of consider all of the big social issues. I mean, they're just looking at the law and they're saying, this is what the law says, and according to the law, this is the outcome you're supposed to get. Whereas I think you need broad social input on this in order to come to the best decision. Of course, with our Congress, who knows if that would ever happen. But I think that's really the place where theoretically it should be decided anyway. So I guess the moral of the story is we don't know what's going to happen with AI and AI creations, and who's going to own the copyrights and the patents that come from it. So I guess we just have to live in limbo and wait for somebody to make some more decisions on this. So